44 Mountain Morning Time on a Thursday, 53 degrees on the outside, and it's a distinct honor always to interview this fella. First time I saw him was at Red Hill School after a cotton picking contest in which I had picked cotton, and this was in the 1940s. And let's say hello to Doc Tommy Scott.
How you doing, Billy?
Tommy, how are you?
Always good to see you.
Always good to see you.
I'm just doing great.
What year was that roughly? That was probably about the beginning of, no, it wasn't.
It would have been, I guess, 39, maybe.
Was it 39?
Yeah, 39 or, yeah, about 1938, 39. Long ways back, huh?
And you packed the building then?
Well, yeah, we was lucky enough to, well, we had about the only thing of its kind going at that time, you know.
Doc Scott, as you local folk know, is from Eastanollee, and he has really, literally put Eastanollee on the national and international map as far as country music and medicine shows is concerned. He was telling me before the show that, of course, Doc Chamberlain came, I guess, to this town.
Right here to Toccoa, Georgia, right.
And this was your inspiration to start you into what's turned out to be 51 years.
This is my starting my 52nd year, which will be the, let's see here, January 31st. We usually do 350 different towns a year across the United States and Canada, but I'm slowing down a little bit. We're going to knock about 25 days off and just do about 325. And we're going to start in Greenwood, South Carolina on the 31st, and we're getting in close here with Wall Holler over here on February 1st. And then over to Cornelia, Georgia, over there on February 2nd. Then we head south on below Atlanta and on into Florida and Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and on across to California.
You've had, in fact, actually, how many albums have you had in all?
38.
38.
I've made 38 albums. I don't know exactly how many singles, around 200 and something singles.
And one of those albums had the key was keyed into the fact we've played every town, what, more than once?
Played every place more than once.
And now
that's about right.
Now I guess that's more than twice.
Oh, yeah. There's some of the towns, Billy, I've been in up to 15, 18, 20 times. Ottawa, Canada, I played 17 years for the same sponsor.
Do you have any idea how many miles the Tommy Scott caravan has traveled?
I don't. That's a good idea. You know, someday when I ain't got nothing else to do, I might just try to figure that out, really.
Of course, your wife, Frankie, has been a big guiding hand with you in this.
She's been with me all these years.
R.W. Moore has been your business manager for, I guess, a long time.
30-something years, I guess.
That long?
That's long, yeah.
Tommy has received a lot of awards, but I'm sure none that he cherishes any more than the one that he and our buddy Bill Anderson received simultaneously in Atlanta back in early November.
Yeah, November 7th.
And let's get a close-up of one of the cameras of this inducted into the Atlanta Country Music Hall of Fame. You might tell us about that ceremony, Tommy.
Well, I tell you what, they started this thing. You know, they have one out in California, I guess, and there's one in New York and one in Denver, I remember. But it seems that the one in Atlanta is the one that I had rather be in than any of them. That kind of, I guess, starts the thing for the Nashville deal. I'm in the Walkway of Stars at the Country Music Hall of Fame in Nashville. But then I was put in there in Atlanta on the 7th, actually in the Georgia Country Music Hall of Fame. Bill Anderson and I were put in there to honored at the same time.
That was a Saturday night, or I would have been there. Well, it was a big occasion.
Right, it certainly was, and I wished you could have been there. You know, but it was nice, and the reason I'm so happy that I'm in that one. You take the people that's in country music, big and otherwise, that are in the Atlanta one are the basics of what is known as country music around the world. Fiddlin' John Carson, Uncle Dave Macon, the Carter family, and on. Those are the people that are in the Atlanta one. I'd rather be in the Atlanta one than in the rest of them. And, of course, I'm from Georgia. And
well, you know, they always say that a prophet is without honor in his home country, so you've proved them wrong on that.
Well, good old Atlanta, good old Toccoa, I always like to come back here after rambling around every place there.
One thing about you, you've never ignored the fact that if you were on Nashville radio or national TV, that your home base is Eastanollee.
I tell you what, I was on KMOX in St. Louis, WGN Chicago, WLS Chicago, WJR Detroit, WLW Cincinnati. Bill Cunningham's the Assistant Attorney General over there, and old Charlie Douglas. You know Charlie, don't you? And that's the Music Country Network, and that's on 200 or 300 stations, I guess. Goes to Alaska, right? And I was on his thing there 2 hours the other night, and on these stations in the last 5 weeks, I have entertained upwards of 100 million people. And we got to checking the tapes, and Toccoa, Georgia was mentioned over 100 times in those tapes. Of course, we was plugging, you know, the a little Christmas gift that I've got for the people and so on. And it always ends up by sending to Toccoa, Georgia, you know.
How many trucks are in your traveling caravan?
We got about 6 trucks, vans, trailers, and motorhomes that move every morning, early in the morning, 6 to 7 o'clock, it's according to how long the jump. Jump's usually 50, 75 miles a day. From point A to point B, we're there all day, do an hour and a half that night, move on to the next town till we do 350 towns.
And you told me off camera that in 51 years you have not had any major accidents.
Never have. We've had just a little bump up or two, but no major accidents in all this time. And I think one of the reasons is because we move early in the morning. Everybody's fresh and ready to go. And of course, I don't allow any drinking or pot or anything else on my show. It's clean cut, as you know.
It's a family.
Family type show, and this has to do with it too. Yes.
Let's say hello to an old buddy of both of ours, Joel Price.
Oh, Joel Price used to sell Herb-O-Lac all over the country. Now, we never did sell the snake oil, you know, into the stores
Right.
here. It was always, I was on XDRF in Del Rio, Texas, the big Mexican station with it. But Joel's the one who went and sold it to the drugstore everywhere. He's been in every drugstore. About every 2 weeks he'd make the round. He's my buddy.
He saw my daddy in Carnesville, Herb-O-Lac.
Yeah.
And in fact, there were 2 at that time, Herb-O-Lac and Vim-O-Ree.
Vim-O-Ree, right. And we both worked for both the companies.
And
but I owned, of course, the Herb-O-Lac.
And they were both good sellers.
Absolutely. Well, the snake oil now, a lot of people buy snake oil as, you know, as a souvenir type thing. But we've got people that have used it religiously back through the years.
It's helped you, hasn't it?
Oh, yes, I'll have to say. Now, one of the little things that I've been doing on this, I came up with a little idea. I said, well, we'll have a little fun. So what I do now, I have $16 worth of tickets that we give in each order that they send in. And then we have a remedy book with over 200 old-timey remedies, you know, like turpentine lard for your sore throat.
We've
and this
talked
kind
about
of thing.
that on television.
Right. And we send them a bottle of snake oil and the remedy and my picture and these tickets that they can use anywhere we are across the United States for $10. And all they got to do is send $10 to Toccoa, Georgia. You
Just
know,
Tommy Scott?
Just Tommy Scott, Toccoa, Georgia. We'll send it right and post-pay. Cost me $2.50 to mail it out. And we have more fun with that, you know, and people order. And then we meet the people when we come to town.
By the way, Tommy launches a new series of programs on TV 32 in early January, Saturday nights from 7:30 to 8.
Right. And it will be, starts January 9th.
January 9th?
Yeah, right before your program.
Great.
Right.
They'll have 3.5 hours of country.
They'll just switch this way and hang with us, we hope, right through the whole thing.
Tommy, I wish you continued success, maybe 51 more years.
Thank you, sir.
And in another 51 years, I'll pick some cotton again.
Thank you. And let's just say to everybody, let's all keep hale, hearty, and healthy, and always wear a smile.
We'll be back with more of Mountain Morning with Greg James, who won't be quite as hearty, right after this.
Goodbye.